Welcome to the platform of adding knowledge. I am Subro sir. I am going to teach you biology at a depth. We are going to discuss a very important chapter from class 11, that is locomotion and movement. This is a chapter of animal physiology, and in this chapter we are going to discuss the division of the skeleton system in humans. Now, according to NCERT, the skeleton system of humans is broadly classified into or divided into two parts. That is the axial skeleton, there are 80 bones, and the appendicular skeleton, there are 126 bones. Axial skeleton means it contains the cranium or the head, the rib cage, including the sternum, the backbone. This contains the axial skeleton. And the appendicular skeleton means the girdles, that means the pectoral girdle and the pelvic girdle, including the upper appendages and the lower appendages. That means the appendages and the girdles in the appendicular skeleton, and in the axial skeleton there are skull, vertebral column, as I am saying, ribs and sternum. Now let's look how many bones are there in each of the part and what are the numbers of those bones in each part. First, the total skeletal system of humans contains 80 plus 126, almost 206 bones. But in the case of childs or the babies, they have more bones. Later, the bones go fused to form ultimately 206 bones in the case of adults. Now, the total axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton, where there are total 206 bones. Okay, let me write 206 over here. I have forgot to write. So, yes, the skeleton system of humans contains 206 bones, which is broadly classified into two parts. That means the axial skeleton, where are 80 bones, and the appendicular skeleton, there are 126 bones. Now, this axial skeleton contains skull, the vertebral column, the ribs and sternum. The skull, that means the skull part, the face part and the cranium part, both. So the skull is broadly classified into four parts. One, the facial, the cranium, the ear ossicles and the hyoid bone. Now the ear ossicles we cannot see from the outside, it is inside. Though there are so many bones, we cannot see it from the outside. Later on, during the next discussion, we will show you a very great pictures of the skull and each position of each bone. Then you will understand better. Now, in the skull region, there are facial bones, 14 facial bones. 14 facial bones are there. Facial bones are there, maxilla, mandible, and so many bones are there. We will discuss later on. So, facial bones 14. Next, the cranium part. That means the part where inside the brain is situated. Inside the cranium, the brain is situated. The cranium or the brain box protects the brain. Now, cranium contains 8 bones. There are so many bones. Later on, we will discuss the different bones of cranium. We will deeply discuss on that matter. It contains the frontal bone, the parietal bone, the occipital bone. So many bones are there later on. So, the facial contains 14 bones. The cranium contains 8 bones. The ear ossicles. We know that inside the ear there are ear ossicles in each ear. That means in this ear, the right ear, there are 3 bones, and the left ear, there are 3 ear ossicles or the 3 bones. These are the smallest bone in our body. The name Malleus incus stapes. Later on, we will discuss on this. Among that, stapes is the stapes is the smallest bone of the body. Okay. Next, another bone is the hyoid. Hyoid bone is situated in this portion. We will also look on that. Hyoid bone 1. So, including that, the facial bones 14. The cranium bone 8, the ear ossicle 6 and the hyoid bone 1. If we total or sum up all these things, we will get these 29 bones in the skull. Next, the vertebral column. The vertebral column is from the cervical region to the coccygeal region. Cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum and coccyx or sacral or coccyx. The cervical region contains 7 bones. The thoracic region, the ribs are coming out from that region. The thoracic region contains 12 bones. We know that 12 pairs of ribs are there in the both sides. Some are true ribs, some are false ribs and some are floating ribs. So the vertebral column total contains 26 bones. But if you add all these things, that means cervical 7, thoracic 12, lumbar 5, sacrum 5 in the young stage, but in the adulthood these sacral bones fuse to form one bone and the coccygeal bone fuse to form one bone. So the total bone become 26. 7, 12, 5, 1, 1. 26 bones. And the ribs we are just telling about. From the each vertebral column bone, a pair of ribs is coming out. Rib number 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. There are total 12 ribs. Among them 1 to 7 true ribs, 8, 9, 10 false ribs, and 11 and 12 are floating ribs later on. So there are 12 ribs in pairs, that means 24, and the sternum bone or the breastbone. It contains 3 parts: the manubrium parts, the upper part of the sternum or the top of head of the sternum, the body of the sternum, and the lower part of the sternum, xiphoid process. The manubrium, the body, and the xiphoid process, it contains one bone. These 3 bones are fused, of course. This contains one bone. So the axial skeleton has 80 bones, skull 29 bones inside the skull. Among there are facial 14 bones, cranium 8 bones, ear ossicle 6 bones in both the ear pairs, 6 bones, 3, 3, 6. Heart bone is 1 single bone. Now vertebral column contains 26 bones, cervical 7, thoracic 12, lumbar 5, sacral region 1, and coccygeal region of the tailbone 1. So total 26 bones, and the ribs 24 and the sternum 1, all including 80 bones. Now come to the appendicular skeleton. In the appendicular skeleton we can see that there are 126 bones. Just before that I have told you that the appendicular skeleton contains the girdles, the pelvic girdle, the pectoral girdle over here and the pelvic girdle over here. The pectoral girdle contains a bone that is present over here, that is the collar bone, and the scapula, the scapula and clavicle, the collar bone or clavicle, and scapula. The girdle bone, there are 6 bones. Okay, the pelvic girdle 2 bones, and the pectoral girdle contains 4 bones. The pelvic girdle contains actually 3 bones: ilium, ischium, pubis, but later on they fused to form lastly 2 bones. The pelvic girdle 2 bones in the single pelvic girdle, and the pectoral girdle, I have told that the collar bone or the clavicle and the scapula in both the girdles pairs, so 4 bones. So girdle bones are 6, pelvic 2, and pectoral girdle 4, 4 and 2, 6. Now the limb bones, the upper arm or the upper limb, it contains bones: humerus, radius ulna, carpal, metacarpal, phalanges. Including that 4 into 30. That means this arm contains 30 bones, this arm contains 30 bones, like this. Actually the number is little bit different, 4 into 30. So total 4 into 30, that means 120 bones. 120 bones and 6 bones, 126 bones. So I am revising again or repeating again. The human skeletal system in humans contains total 206 bones. Among that, the total human skeleton is divided into 2 parts: the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton contains 80 bones and the appendicular skeleton contains 126 bones. Keep in mind the number of the bones, it is very important for you. Now the axial skeleton, there are 3 parts mainly: skull 29 bones, vertebral column 26 bones, and ribs and sternum 24 plus 1, that means 25 bones. In the skull, the facial bones 14 bones, the cranium 8 bones, ear ossicle 6 bones, and hyoid 1 bone. And the vertebral column contains 26 bones, which is the backbone actually, and the ribs, pair of ribs, so 24 bones, 12 pair of ribs, so 24 bones, and the sternum 1 bone, the breastbone. Okay, and in the appendicular skeleton there is 126 bone. Limb bones 4 into 30, that means each limb contains 30 bones. So total number of bones 4 limbs: right, left arm, right and left leg. 4 into 30, total limb bones 120. And the girdle bone, the pectoral girdle contains 2 bones in right side and 2 bones in the left side, so 2 plus 2, 4 bones. And pelvic girdle, the lower part of the girdle, actually it contains 3 bones, ilium, ischium, pubis, but later on it fuses to form 2 bones, and the pelvic girdle contains 2 bones. Later on in this chapter, when we will discuss, we will discuss each and every part of the bone. That means the skull, the vertebral column, with proper picture. You can see the bones, and I will explain which part of the bone is present in which side of the body. Thank you, students.